Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Neo Marketing Podcast. My name is Kyle Golding. I'm here with Rich Pritchard, my co-host and business partner. Today, we're going to discuss the most important business ideas in 2019 because I predicted it in 2018, and I now have proof it's coming true. Welcome to the Golding Group Neo Marketing Podcast, a bi-weekly discussion of modern business communication. Welcome back, everyone, to the Neo Marketing Podcast. Kyle Golding, Rich Pritchard. How are you today, Pritch?
I'm great. How about yourself?
Fantastic. I'm fired up because I have proof that my 2018 predictions about 2019 marketing trends are happening and working well for people.
And it's so awesome when you see that.
It feels good to know.
You
got to go take a chance, go out on a limb. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So
this time it worked.
It's working, so we're going to talk about it today.
Yeah.
3 examples of some conversations I've had with people in just the last month.
Cool.
About how these ideas are working and can work for them and will work for them. And so here was the prediction. My prediction for in this time, 2018, was for 2019, the most important business marketing trend would be collaboration and community.
Right.
They work in concert. They go together. Collaborating with other businesses, like businesses, not like businesses, public entities, nonprofits, schools, etc. All businesses should be focused on collaboration as a way of audience attraction and attention, as opposed to mass marketing.
Right.
That's my theory and philosophy that I floated last year. And then the second half of that, though, you can't just go out and be at a couple of events or do a couple of things and sort of knock it off your checklist and move on, right? You really need to build community around your brand.
Yep.
It's not about selling products. About building community, creating fans, creating people who have loyalty to your brand. Yeah. Then you don't have to worry about the sales, the actual individual product or service sales. You don't ever have to worry about if you can build a community around the business entity.
Yeah, and that's relationships. That's what it's all about. And it's taking a page out of the corporate social responsibility book that you need to be a good steward of the resources you have and share with the community.
Certainly. It's taking that one step further and not just being open to the idea, but being very active in the idea and getting out of a direct sales process.
Yes, thank you. Amen.
At the end of the day, no one likes to be sold anything.
Right.
Even when you're looking to buy, you don't want sales tactics, sales pressure, or the idea that the person you're doing business with simply wants your money.
Right.
Right? We all want to feel good about any transaction that we engage in, whether it was our idea or something influenced us. And so another way to get out of direct sales transactions is to collaborate in your community and not. And this is where it gets tricky, marketing people, follow me along. It's not about a dollars in, dollars out ROI per event or per episode or per partner.
Yes.
It's a collaborative overall, which is why we talk about brand instead of sales, because brand is our big picture. Collaboration is big picture. It's putting our brand in a positive light and in front of audiences in ways they weren't expecting. And hopefully we're putting our product or service in, obviously, the right audience, an audience who can and will execute on the transaction. But if we reach them in an avenue that they weren't expecting, or it was an audience we didn't even know could be a target of ours.
Or we find them where they're at.
Yes, exactly. And we do it in a low-cost, low-risk way. It's another thing about collaboration we'll circle back to is the low-cost, low-risk aspect of it. Then the likelihood of we have their attention, but the likelihood of capturing it and then getting into a conversion phase goes way up as opposed to simply blanket mass marketing.
Right. And you hear a lot about millennials, and I think we're all sick and tired of hearing that term.
And now it's the millennials versus the boomers, right? Which is funny.
But millennial and Gen Z, anyone in that time frame, really is looking at the company to see what they stand for.
For sure.
And it's this kind of community and collaboration that you're talking about.
And they're the least likely to be influenced by advertising.
Absolutely.
They really don't give a crap about advertising. They're not seeing it. They're not watching TV commercials. They're fast forwarding on streaming services, or they're just using services that don't have commercials at all. They're using ad blockers on smartphones and on their computer.
Hitting the delete key.
They have gotten well adapt at ignoring your ads in their feeds of all the social media.
Absolutely.
They're very good at it, which is pro and con for us as marketing people. Is like our challenge is we need to get their attention. The key is don't get their attention so I can sell them something. Get their attention so I can engage them as part of my community.
Right.
It's a long play. That's why it can't be a dollars in, dollars out ROI.
Right.
The same way I think most people, they'll be honest with you, social media is a long play. Even with promoted posts and things like that, it's not I'm going to spend $50 to get 500 transactions. Right. So I'm going to spend $50 to get exposure to 1,000 people with that 1 or 2% return right. That ends up being something that has potential, and the ROI gets a little gray in those areas too, because even though there's click through that you can track, unlike like print and traditional media, there still is what happened to the transaction all the way through, and how did you lose it? Price, reputation, ease of business, etc.
And it's a little challenging because what we're talking about here are non-financial indicators: reputation, trust, relationship. Right. How do you put a value on that? We're still struggling with how to measure it, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't play on that side of the table.
For sure. The second half of this conversation is I have with people all the time, and often too many people, whether they're someone we meet at an event or someone who maybe even ask us to pitch for their business, they immediately want to go, I need 10,000 Twitter followers.
Right.
Ugh. No, you don't. 10,000 Twitter followers would be great if they're actually engaged and they're knowledgeable of your product or service, and they're following you because they want to be engaged with you, not to be sold something. Right. We all know too, there are plenty of people running around with 10,000 Twitter followers or Instagram followers or Facebook fans, etc. We all know how they got them.
Yep.
I don't even have to wink at you guys. You know how they got them.
Right.
We all know the complete invalid nature of having a certain number of social followers or interactions with potential clients.
Right. Well, I think it goes back to what you were talking about, being strategic in your approach to things. That's a very tactical output kind of a approach.
Yes. So if you get off the focus of numbers, raw numbers, how many times can I get my sales staff in front of people and run in that hole? If I just pick my 1% off, I'm fine. That's that old way of doing business. No one appreciates that. That's robocalling, that's spam emailing, that's used car sales.
And all stuff we love.
But focusing on working in small groups and communities. This is the other thing about collaboration in your community. You don't have to go and sponsor the local university's football game to get your logo in front of 80,000 people.
Right.
It'd be awesome if you do.
Right.
Great if you can afford that.
Right.
But how many of you are out there right now going, I can't afford that, whatever it is. I know it's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of people and it's a prestigious position, right?
Absolutely.
So instead, small collaborations throughout your community, singular one-offs with other businesses, with nonprofit groups, et cetera, doing things in your community that only put you in front of 500 people, but those 500 people are actually going to take the time to look at what it is, your banner, your trade show booth, your people in your shirts, whatever it is that you're at the event, the speaker that gets the first 5 minutes to talk is this, all these things, you get much more attention out of that 500 than you do the 80,000 who are there just there to see a football game.
Right.
And then if it happened to be someone who has a similar type of audience or some other natural attraction, then that's one step further, one step more effective. Yep. And then it goes down to don't sell them anything, but make them aware of what it is you do and how maybe you can create a business relationship. Eventually, don't try to close someone at the event where you're the sponsor or the community collaborator, because you've just then negated all the stuff we just said, which is good.
That's exactly right.
Focus on smaller audiences, the more select, more attentive, and more potential percentage-wise to come through. 5% of 500 is a whole lot better than a 0.025
of
the 80,000 that are not there to hear anything about what it is you're talking about.
Right.
And because that ends up with, I'm curious about what I heard today at the football game. Oh, I don't care about that.
Right.
Right. So you can get some click-through numbers, but you can't get conversion numbers.
Yeah.
And so people make that mistake. Social media, they want to go for numbers and not on quantity above quality. And the same thing comes with collaboration. So just because you can't go and do the biggest collaboration in town, sponsor the hugest events in your city, be associated with the biggest things, doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Start with what you can afford to do and snowball that up.
Right. And in the end, you're going to have better return on engagement.
Yes.
And it's going to cost you less than trying to get in front of that 80,000.
Think about this too. So you're at the football game. I say this because we're both OU Sooner fans, right? So we go to all the games, and they always have the sponsor of the game and have these little promos, and the people get to stand there and wave at the crowd. And everyone in my section's like, we don't care. Kick off. We're yelling, boo, boo, Sooner. Right? No one's paying attention.
Right.
Of course, though, as the entrepreneur I'm like, man, I would love to be that dude standing there going, we sponsored the game today, just because of the indicator of success, right?
Right.
But so they get announced at the football game. They put their logo on the screen. There are plenty of people who clap for them, plenty of people who just want to watch football. They go home. Are they going to stand out front of the stadium and greet all 80,000 fans?
Right.
No, they're not.
Right.
So you got some awareness, but you had no personal interaction. Now, you're an event for 500 people or 100 people.
Right.
The opening of a local park, something at a school, another business in the community that's having a grand opening, and you're coming in and sponsoring part of the event. Now, every person in the room, whether it's 10 or 500, you have the opportunity to interact with.
Yes.
Not just show them a sign, not the logo.
Right.
Speak to them. You and your staff can actually say, oh, hello, we're so-and-so and here's what we're doing, and we're so happy to be at this event doing these things. Wow, that's a completely different sales process than the $80,000 collaboration or mass marketing.
Right. Well, it goes back to relationships.
Right.
You have a chance in those smaller venues to build that relationship. And you know, some folks there may just need awareness. Some folks there are ready to act.
Right.
And having that one-on-one, the ability to engage, will hit all three levels of that.
And the 79,500 people who have no care about business or anything associated with your product or service, because they're at the football game and you're at the 500 people at this event, you've already pre-screened.
Right.
You've already started pre-screening your audience. So everyone who walks through the door, if you have made a good collaboration, has the potential to be someone you could create as part of your audience.
Right. A special niche audience.
Yes. Even better. That is where the trend of marketing has been more niche and more niche and more niche. And this is one of the ways to do it. And I said it's low cost, low risk, and I'll explain why. So doing something as small as providing volunteers for nonprofit events or community events, as small sponsorships. I've been approached with sponsorships. One of the very small local universities right down the street here asked me for a $500 sponsorship for the whole season of basketball. That's actually pretty reasonable considering how many games and et cetera, whatnot. So those small things that you can get into, that lower cost means lower risk.
Right.
Providing volunteers or things that aren't even cash out is super zero risk. You're off work that day, or maybe you're not. Maybe it's a weekend. Maybe you got to pay a bonus to your employees or do whatever. But it'll work out fine because the risk is still lower and the overall cost is not what it is to buy that $80,000 sponsorship at the University of Oklahoma or buy TV time just to run a series of commercials or print ads. Right?
Exactly.
Low cost, low risk. So if you can find collaborations that put you in with like-minded businesses and with community organizations that have a specific audience, a subset of an audience that makes sense for what you do in your business, and then you can lower the cost or lower the risk to almost zero, how would you say no to that?
Right. Exactly.
The real key is to being open to saying yes to it. Too many people just don't go down that path of let's spend the time or a little bit of money to go do a little thing here. They want to go hit the big home run. They want to swing for the fences.
Right.
And I get that. That's fine. And if you're a corporation, because trust me, small businesses aren't paying for those massive sponsorships.
Right.
No one's sponsoring the Thunder. The Love's company that sponsors the Thunder, they make $1 billion, I believe. They're very impressive.
Right.
No one's sponsoring that who's has a $200,000 a year budget. Is not sponsoring your local university or your local professional sports team.
Right.
Even some of your semi-pro, tier 3 and tier 2 and stuff. There's a lot of expense in that. But small businesses can get associated with other small businesses, with their chamber, with nonprofit groups who will be so happy to have their influence, their collaboration, the benefit of it, that it just creates such a win-win.
Yeah.
And if you do that 50 weeks out of the year, that adds up to so much more effectiveness than that one big splash. We spent all our money on the big shebang.
Right. Absolutely. So there you go. You predicted it, and it came true.
I did. So the second half of the prediction is community. And a lot of what we just discussed mentioned the community and community events and organizations, and that's all valid and true.
Right.
But when I talk about building community around your brand, what I mean is attracting people to your business, the why of your business, why you exist, what's interesting and different about it, creating fans, creating an audience that is not just we buy stuff from them, we sell stuff to them, but an interaction,
yes,
a two-way communication process, taking their input and feedback to make the product or service better, engaging them online. You know, it's great when a fan shouts you out on social media. Oh, I got these great headphones from DD Audio. You guys are cool. And I tag them.
Right.
That's fantastic, right?
Yep.
Now you got to, as the brand, you got to respond back, though. We appreciate you calling us out on, and giving us a shout out.
Yep.
You can't just sit there and go, oh, that was cool. You have to do that back and forth, create deeper relationships. That's the community I want you to build around your brand, is not just a transactional process, but an informational, a learning curve, we're in this together thought. The best example of this ever is simple. I'm going to see if you can guess what the best example of building community around your product.
Okay.
The greatest fans in the world are so rabid about this brand. They'll do anything. They'll stand in line. They'll fight you. They'll fight you if you say it sucks.
It could be It could be REI. It could be Apple. It could be,
Apple was on my mind, but REI is a great example.
Starbucks.
Right. So there's three great examples, right, of brands that people take personally.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's part of their identity. I'm one of those guys, and people are like, I'm an Apple guy.
Right.
Everything. I got iPads, I got iPhones, I got Macs, I got everything. Everything is Apple for me. I'm like non-PC dude. I'm like that. It's literally part of and when I was just doing graphic design, it really was a big part of we're designing on Macs because they're superior, blah, blah, blah. Right? We would argue with anyone who said that you could do something on anything, any Windows machine, etc. We would go to war with you on you can't be a graphic designer and use that PC. It was crazy. All the discussions about Apple, Adobe, Microsoft, blah, all that stuff, right? So because we were part of the community.
Right.
I think another great example right now is what Marvel Studios has done with their film franchise.
Right.
They went from attending Comic-Con so they can hold their own Comic-Cons.
Right.
And now Disney owns them and it's a whole different, situation. But they went from Marvel Films to the Marvel Studios to now it's a brand of Disney. It's its own brand because the fans are loyal.
Yep.
And they're willing to do whatever, and they've done a good job of giving them the extras, paying attention to what they're looking for, attending the Comic-Cons. And they also could be like, we don't have to go to Comic-Con, we're Marvel. They do go, and they give the audience what they're looking for.
Talk about loyal fans, holy Moses.
Exactly. So small businesses can do the same thing. Any business.
Yes.
Any business. And for nonprofits, it's one of those things. Nonprofits is a completely different scenario. You should have community around what you're doing because what you're doing is ingrained in the community.
Right.
So it's a whole different conversation, and it's more just tell your story, and you will. But businesses too often get too sucked up in that sales cycle, and they get too short term. What's the ROI? What's the turn? Right. What's the conversion rate, etc. And you got to back up, go back to the brand the same way we did with collaboration.
Right.
And how do we? I don't need 1 million or 1 billion people to be interested in my brand. I need 10,000 or 5,000 or 1,000 or 500 who are rabid about it, who buy everything, who pay up every time, who are not just that. They're buying the product or service. They're telling people. They're recommending.
Absolutely.
They're giving you the 5 stars.
Right.
They're literally telling their friend, like, you're being an idiot to do anything besides hire these people or buy this product.
And here's something
because you can't buy that level of.
In bonus, since the thing people don't realize is that they become your advocates in time of trouble, especially in the middle of a crisis.
Yes.
Haters are going to come first. We know that now.
Right.
But then there's space for your advocates to jump in.
Your white knights.
Your white knights.
The greatest thing that could happen to any business is to not actually have to push back on the majority of the stuff that happens on social media.
Right, absolutely.
And when people talk trash about you, specifically on social media and maybe some small media outlets, but if the white knights, if your fans, if the people in your community will show up first, point out all the reasons that person is maybe misguided or has it wrong, or asking for another chance or whatever it is to prove that you've done good by so many people that one is the anomaly and shouldn't be taken as the core. That's the best scenario any business can be in. And we've got a couple clients like that. I'm so impressed that they don't have to respond to almost anything on social media because their fans do it for them. It's an amazing thing.
Yep. It is absolutely not just a bonus, but a great bonus to having that community.
Now, of course, every crisis communication protocol will let you know at some point if it goes from disgruntled buyer or a rumor to, okay, now it's a real crisis. The corporate's got to jump in and do the thing.
Absolutely.
But that community is going to support what corporate puts out.
And in many cases have already paved the way.
Or also, the community is also the ones who alert you that there's trouble coming.
There's trouble coming.
Yes.
Exactly.
So there's so many advantages of building a community, then paying attention to them, taking the feedback, the input, the what they like, what they don't like, what other people are saying about you, etc., back in internally, processing it, and making your product or service, your brand, better, stronger moving forward.
Absolutely.
So think about it. If you do those two things, if you're creating collaboration opportunities, putting your brand in front of different audiences in different ways in a non-sales cycle in order to establish a reputation, a dialogue, a potential.
A relationship.
Right.
Yep.
And it's already pre-screened. We've already stepped down from everybody into at least to some sort of pre-screening.
Right.
You do that, then the better you engage your audience, you create community with that audience, you have a back and forth, two-way conversation, you continue to improve your business, product, or service, etc., based on the audience,
and the feedback.
Not based on you or what the CEO wants or the engineers got all excited about something. I got a 3D printer, let's make this. None of that, but what the audience is not just willing to pay for, but actually excited about. The thing that would make them feel value. If you can operate your business like that, it's a whole different. You never have to have the conversation of what are today, this week, or this month's sales numbers. Right. Because the sales numbers will absolutely take care of themselves if you actually can sell the product in an economical way. You still have to be able to execute. You can't have terrible customer service. You can't have technology that refuses the credit cards, all that stuff, right? But if your business is set up to do business, and then you have done this, your audience is built like this, the longevity, the predictability, which is important in business, and then the sustainability of keeping this audience because you're moving forward the way they want you to. And then that audience is going out and attracting a new audience for you. Amazingly efficient business.
Exactly.
So the reason that's important in 2019, for me, my opinion, when asked in 2018 why this would be the important trend, was because mass marketing has gotten, it's not effective outside of major brands. You know, if you're trying to sell Snickers or Doritos or Budweiser to everyone in the country who's eligible to drink a Budweiser, fantastic. Go get on the Super Bowl and have at it.
But even they're starting to put more dollars into this relationship, into this collaboration.
They are. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure 99.9% of the people who are watching this podcast video or listening to it on a podcast right now are going, dude, that's not us.
Right.
Maybe our marketing budget's $1,000 a year. Maybe it's $10,000. Maybe it's $100,000, which is still very small business.
Right.
Collaboration and community building is the way to spend less money, less risk, and to really define who your audience is, how you serve them, how you get them to repeat as customers, which is super effective and efficient, and then sustain it. That's where you want to get any business.
Right.
That's where you want to get any level of business. So you can either throw cash at mass marketing, hope your 1% of over however many millions of dollars you spend, it can cash flow you through. Great on you if that's your business model. I doubt it is. Or spend some time, take a little bit of risk, a little bit of not doing things the same old, but go create some community events, some collaborations, and then pay attention to your audience, value their input and intake, and then grow from that.
Yes.
The last thing, too, that I forgot in the first part, but I have to end on this, is the thing about collaboration is when they're small and when they're one-offs, like we've never done this before, let's try it, there's a potential, and really kind of a 50-50, that the whole thing does nothing.
Right.
We hosted an event and 2 people showed up. That potential is there. But, again, the risk and the cost are way low. So if you host an open house and 2 people come and you're out a couple $100 for some food and drinks, or you took off work, everyone got it off, half day off at the office, you're out a couple of $100, maybe $1,000. It's really minimal. 2 people showed up. Wow, that kind of sucked. You still could learn a lot from those 2 people potentially, and you could do it again, but maybe making changes. If you go and sponsor the football game and you spend that much money, and then we have a blizzard, and no one shows up at the game, they're not giving you your money back.
That's right.
If you buy a full-page ad in the newspaper and the same day a massive news event happens, a terrorist attack, a presidential scandal, natural disaster, right? Is anyone paying attention to that full-page ad? No, they're not.
Flipping past it.
You spent a ton of money for an opportunity that failed,
Right.
or maybe you get the perfect opportunity and your advertising just wasn't right and you missed.
Right.
Well, that money's out the window. You can never get it back, and sometimes you can learn from it, but sometimes you can't. In a collaboration effort, you have a small local event. It's collaborative. You're sharing the cost and the risk with someone else, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 entities. It doesn't go. It's not the end of the world. Right. Your whole budget for the year is not blown.
Right.
But learn from it and do it again. Don't be afraid of it failing. And don't let singular failures stop you from moving forward in the future.
Exactly. Great advice.
Which is all marketing, right? You're going to have some failures, and you have to learn from it and move forward. But don't let it set you back because you've intentionally had low cost embedded in it because you're collaborating with other people. It's not just you.
Yeah.
So
there we go.
That's a lot, folks, but I want you to think about all that. Think about how, and I think I made this prediction for 2019 because I had 3 potential clients, people in the community discussions this last week. One with a local small university, private university, completely not OU and completely different scenario. A local professional organization who has a long-standing reputation that maybe need to do some new things, new and different in the future. And then a startup, a young lady who was going out on her own in the marketing field and knew what she had learned from her past experiences, going to go hang her own shingle, if you will, and run her own thing. And she doesn't have a lot of money to blow on anything else either, but she needs to build this community. So I had the same conversation with an individual in a startup, with a professional organization, and with a small university, and I gave them all the same advice, which is why I was so in my mind today. I'm like, I got to talk about this because they all 3 understood the validity of it. It's right on cue. It's working for 2019. I will predict it will be very valuable in 2020 as well.
Absolutely.
And I think this is how business gets done moving forward from this day on until there's a massive shift in culture or technology or something else. This is where businesses need to be, the direction they need to be heading into when it comes to marketing, because mass marketing is going to continue to lose its effectiveness, but things like this will continue to gain in effectiveness.
Absolutely.
So get on board now.
There we go.
There it is, folks.
That's it.
Another episode of the Neo Marketing Podcast. No, someone was walking upstairs, like the whole building was shaking. Folks, thank you. That was a whole lot of information. Thanks for tuning in today. As usual, hit us up on social media, follow us, make comments. We will answer those comments. We will maybe address any questions you have on a future episode. Hit that subscribe button, mash that subscribe button on YouTube, on Spotify, on iTunes, on all the platforms that you get your podcast. We appreciate you each and every time. Until next time, good luck.
Ciao.